then is Bennie.
Nice to meet you, Richard. Nice to meet you. One introduction, money. I don't know if I'm going to correct what's in the program after that introduction, but I will. It's always very dangerous to sit down here and say that you're a venture capitalist and you'd like to write out checks for people that have got creative and wonderful ideas. It creates a very strange impression in most people's minds. But let me talk about money for a while, and I'll try focus my thoughts on two things: how you go about actually creating organizations or creating companies and creating environments where you can actually make money, and what are the success factors you should focus on in order to make sure that you can be successful in these environments. And the take-home value I'd like to leave with you is based on the fact that this is such a varied, multi-talented group. I'm sure there are many of you, and I know some of you have already registered and got domain names, know all about this, and some of you are figuring this out, and perhaps some of you have even written business plans on a laptop that you're trying to raise money for, thinking about raising money for, and there's someone in the audience here who I wished I had invested with, and I missed the opportunity. But the essential ingredients to being a venture capitalist is, I think you have to be an entrepreneur initially, and you have to love what you're doing. And I'm so pleased to have this audience in Toronto, because I've been the lone voice telling people you can build successful, wonderful companies in Toronto. And we have the talent, we have the natural ingredients, and it's up to our own ability to have a mindset that will allow us to create this. And I've had a series of experiences for the last 20 years where I've started companies that actually suit this group, because I started out developing a company called Mission Electronics, and Mission produced loudspeakers that were the origins of the home theater. I went on to produce products that were entertainment software that once again filled the void for a form of entertainment in your living room. And it's a wonderful time to be watching the living room being transformed into a very different entertainment center. So I think you need to grow up having this zeal and zest for that period where people make these very specific decisions. And it's all about a timing when things align themselves and you find yourself at that very critical moment. It's an inflection point where groups, organizations are created, and you come along and you provide the money. We actually provide a lot more. And these organizations come to life. The dreams have become a reality. And I've been involved in many of these situations, and I think the most critical factor, if you want to think about what is necessary for success, is you've got to think out of the box. There's on the Starship Enterprise, they were always going where no man has gone before. You need a bit of a guide. There is no roadmap. There's no map that will give you any directions. But you need to get out there and think very creatively. And I know this audience could do more creative thinking than I ever could. I'm just the money guy. It's important that you're able to put yourself in a position where you enjoy the dynamics of change and enjoy going into this void and creating new and fresh ideas. And the best analogy I can give you that we're all familiar with is radio. For many, many years, radio was simply ship-to-shore type communications. And someone came along and figured out, aha, we could broadcast music. We could then charge the people that would buy radios to listen to it. No, we'd give it all to them for free, and we get advertisers to come along. Now, if you look at history and how that evolution of the business model evolved, it's quite similar to the kinds of challenges we face today. To be successful, and I have a prop, here we are, this is going to create the most amazing type of new opportunities and unlimited amount of creative talent will go into figuring out what we're going to do with this device, because there are going to be about 200 million of these devices in the next year that will be internet enabled. And that means that by carrying your little phone along on an internet appliance, people will know where you are, who you are, what your likes, dislikes are. You're going to ask to be given or give people permission to be given information that you would like to receive at a particular point in time. And the implications are absolutely fascinating. Think about shopping and having a comparative pricing being done while you're in the store at that particular moment, and how that will affect retail, your abilities, or the social implications of having this in a bar and letting a signal out to know that I'm here, I'm available, and now's the time, now's the place. It goes on and on and on. And it's that what makes this whole new environment and this new frontier and this converging of all these various talents that we have here so very exciting as we move into these new frontiers. And I think that if you consider the implications from a marketing perspective, we had brands built very, very rapidly. The Yahoos, the AOLs of this world built their brands, and it was all about this massive fight and competitive environment to get part of what was referred to as a piece of this land grab, because the network had been established. And in the venture community, everyone was looking at the land grab as being part of what we know as Metcalfe's law. Metcalfe's law is the value of the network is increased exponentially by each additional node. Now, I don't think Bob Metcalfe, and I hope he forgives me if I'm wrong, thought that the network would ever be across hundreds of millions of people expanding throughout the whole planet. He had a concept of perhaps a company or perhaps a larger organization. The opportunities now become such that you can create a brand much more well-known than a Yahoo, because it would encompass such a larger audience, and the audience would be able to have information readily available to them at a very inexpensive price. Cell phones, appliances that are internet-enabled are going to come down dramatically in price. And the implication for branding is one thing. The implication for being able to understand how fast and how much more rapid the environment's going to become and how much more competitive the environment is going to become is where the real opportunity lies. And because this is a small audience, and I was told at TED to say something you've never spoken before, I'll tell you about a skunkworks that we currently have underway, because I think it all revolves around the age-old problem of people. And the implication of all these masses of creative juices going to try get this land grab is further complicated by the fact that there are about 400 positions that need to be filled in the high-tech converging business environment today. And this is going to escalate to about 1 million unfilled people that would represent an enormous skills deficiency that we have in our environment. And what this will do is take companies down to make compromises on their people, which will compromise the products, will compromise the services they offer, and so on and so forth. And we've been promised for the last decade by all these consultants which spoke about re-engineering, which spoke about a multitude of different types of phrases that they charged enormous dollars for to try and put back the ability to manage these companies effectively. The problem will become that much more serious, as there will be less efficient managers. And in an age where we need to have flatter organizations, we need to have organizations that really acknowledge the fact that the managers may not be nearly as skilled as the people that they're managing. And in order to bring out the true knowledge, capabilities, and the power of knowledge within these organizations, which is all based in the people that they're able to put together, the management considerations are going to become that much more onerous. We're going to have to very carefully figure out how we pinpoint and recognize people that are making huge contributions to the success of an organization. We're going to have to be very efficient at dramatically changing the desired behavior of the organization to meet the market changes, and the changes in the market are becoming more and more dynamic. In addition, we're going to have to be able to focus in very quickly on how we're able to address the weaknesses in an organization. And the problem we've had up until now, I don't believe we've used technology in order to understand how we could provide metrics on a one-to-one basis for everyone in an organization. We need a different form of diagnostic tools that we would use in a company to measure exactly how each individual is performing. And each individual is going to be empowered by the fact that knowledge will be just acceptable to be readily available by everyone, especially in an organization. And they would know that their ability to be managed by the knowledge that we all share is going to make for the next generation of organizations that are going to use these diagnostics in order to produce the organization that I believe will be part of our future culture. We're not able to measure the most highly valuable asset in any organization on a balance sheet because we have no ways of measuring human capital. But we really ought to understand how to manage this capital, how to recognize the right behavior, and how to move organizations in the right direction. So that's one takeaway that I've been working on very, very closely over the last few months, and I think that's an amazing opportunity. And I spoke earlier about critical points in time, inflection points. So I would encourage you all, once again, it's Toronto. I just am a great fan of this city and our ability here to take our own natural ingredients and create a much greater environment for creative juices to flow, for innovation and creativity to build all these wonderful organizations here. And a few months ago, actually 2 years ago, we sat around and chatted about the next big thing. We're all chatting about the next big thing, so you can go out and do it first. And email, we all sit around and watch email all day, and we figured, look, we got to find a way to make email that much more productive. And intelligent email is where we ought to go. And I traveled to California, found a pal of mine that was, at the time, head of Netscape's email server project, and persuaded him and 5 of his engineers to move to Toronto and start a project where we were going to put email into an environment where it would be able to understand processes, rules, procedures, and develop a workflow environment behind email. And 24 months later, it's now 26 months exactly today, we have a company in Toronto called Delano that is listed on NASDAQ. They're 350 people. And Delano comes from me being in the Delano Hotel in South Miami Beach and getting a phone call on my cell phone. There was, oh, I'm watching all these glorious, beautiful people walk by. I've had a few cocktails. And now they tell me that every one of the 20 names that we decided would be good for this company is not acceptable. So I looked up and I said, call it Delano. And I get such a kick out of the fact that you're able to do these things right here in Toronto. It's a few creative juices flowing. It's a lot of good people getting together, working hard. And we've actually established one of the best e-business solution providers in North America, in the world for that matter. And it's been something that I took a great deal of pride on. And I thought I would share that with you because whatever your current endeavors are, and since I'm the money guy, I would encourage you to go out. There's never been a better time to raise monies. They've never given you more opportunity to take a risk and follow your dreams and try to create a reality, an organization, a company, an establishment out of your dreams. And I encourage you to do that, and for whatever you do, I wish you much, much success. Thank you.